The triple moons of Vox Epsilon cast long shadows across Outpost 47 Beta's crystalline spires as Senior Commander Zrixtol performed the ritual of ascendance, his first in 3 cycles. The ceremonial nutrient bath shimmered around his appendages, its bioluminescent properties highlighting the honor markings along his carapace. 27 cycles of distinguished service had earned him this remote command post, and finally, the right to this sacred ceremony. The outpost's ambient tones shifted to recognition harmony as Second Officer Melnvir approached, her chromatophores pulsing with reluctance patterns. "Forgive the interruption, Commander," she said, maintaining proper distance from the ceremonial pool. "Long-range sensors have detected an anomaly approaching from Sector 12. Zrixtol's secondary gill slits flared with irritation. Classification: Unknown, Commander. Its drive signature matches nothing in our archives. For a moment, Zrixtol considered delegating the matter. The ritual of ascendance, once interrupted, would need to restart from the beginning sequence, another 3 rotations of preparation. Yet the Medusan code was clear. Unidentified approaches demanded senior authority presence. Alert status yellow. I will join you momentarily. By the time Zrixtol reached the command center, the anomaly had resolved into a definite vessel silhouette on the main display, compact compared to Medusan designs, with peculiar asymmetrical protrusions and energy emissions pulsing in patterns that defied conventional analysis. Vessel mass approximately 1/8 of a standard Medusan cruiser, reported Science Officer Telnvex, her manipulator appendages dancing across sensor interfaces. Yet its energy output exceeds our largest battleships. Impossible efficiency ratios. Distance and approach vector. Zrixtol settled into the command podium, feeling its neural interfaces connect with his cerebral nodes. 17 light minutes. Current trajectory will bring it to our outer defensive perimeter in 42 minutes. Its speed. Telnvex paused, recalibrating her instruments. Commander, it's traveling at 0.47 light speed while still in standard space. Our theoretical models suggest this should be impossible without massive space-time distortion. A ripple of unease passed through the command staff's communal pheromone field. No known species possessed such technology. The collective's fastest vessels could achieve 0.32 light speed only by generating artificial wormholes, and never maintained such velocities in normal space. First contact protocols, ordered Zrixtol. Broadcast standard mathematical sequences on all frequencies. The communications officer complied, sending the carefully designed patterns established after the disastrous Vega incident 3 centuries earlier. Prime numbers, geometric sequences, basic universal constants. The response came not in kind but in action. The vessel altered course, its new vector bringing it directly toward the station's weakest defensive quadrant. Tactical analysis. Zrixtol's dorsal spines stiffened. Security Chief Vrax Khan's response was immediate and grim. The vector adjustment precisely targets the overlap gap in our defensive grid. No random approach could identify this vulnerability. Impossible, whispered Telnvex. We've only detected this vessel for 7 minutes. Even with advanced scanning, analysis of our defensive configuration would require intelligence beyond our technical assessment. Finished Zrixtol. Issue Warning Level 1. Prepare defensive measures. The warning shot, a precisely calibrated energy burst designed to demonstrate capability without causing damage, lanced across space toward the approaching vessel. By doctrine, it deliberately targeted non-critical areas of the unknown craft. What happened next violated every physical principle in Medusan science. The energy beam struck the vessel's hull and simply disappeared. No deflection, no dispersion, complete absorption. Scan the vessel again, ordered Zrixtol, fighting to maintain composure. Damage report. Lieutenant Commander Maya Chen steadied herself against the navigation console as the Curiosity shuddered. Warning indicators flashed across her station, bathing the bridge in pulsing red light. Direct energy impact, Commander, reported Lieutenant Rivera from Tactical. Port Quadrant, sections 4 through 7. Her dark eyes widened as she processed incoming data. Ma'am, the shields. They absorbed 100% of the impact. No damage. Maya's first officer, Commander Jackson, leaned forward. They're testing us. Or warning us. Maya countered, studying the holographic representation of the alien structure dominating the view screen. Unlike the utilitarian designs of Earth vessels, this station was a marvel of crystalline architecture, impossible spires and chambers that seemed to defy structural engineering. Pulsating energy fields connected the disparate segments, creating a lattice pattern Maya found strangely familiar. Dr. Kepper, analysis of that energy signature. She called toward the science station. The chief science officer's fingers flew across holographic interfaces as he dissected the data. Rahul Kapoor had 3 doctorates and an uncanny ability to spot patterns others missed, precisely why Maya had requested him for this mission, despite his reputation for challenging authority. It's elegant, he muttered, more to himself than to the bridge crew. Coherent plasma stream modulated at quantum levels, technology centuries beyond our current theoretical models. He looked up suddenly. Commander, the modulation pattern matches our emergency distress frequency almost perfectly. Maya processed this, mentally recalibrating everything she thought she understood about the situation. So either they've been monitoring our communications long enough to identify our distress frequencies, or it's a cosmic coincidence of mathematical proportions I wouldn't bet on. Finished Kepper, his normally composed features tense with concern. Could they be requesting assistance? Suggested Ensign Takeda from the helm. Communications Officer Rivera shook her head. If they were, why target us? And our sensors detect no signs of distress from their station. The Curiosity had been 3 weeks into its mission to investigate subspace anomalies in this previously unexplored sector when they detected the alien structure. First contact protocols were clear: approach with caution, attempt communication, and maintain safe distance until mutual understanding was established. Yet something felt off about this encounter from the beginning. The alien station had made no attempt to hail them, despite surely detecting their approach. And now this, a direct energy discharge that their shields had interpreted as an attack. They fired on our strongest shield segment, Maya noted, reviewing the tactical data, almost as if they didn't want to damage us. Finished Security Chief Alvarez, his expression darkening. Or they were calibrating their weapons. Maya's training at Starfleet Academy had covered hundreds of first contact scenarios, but nothing quite like this. Standard protocol demanded they retreat to safe distance and attempt communication from there. Yet her instincts, honed through 12 years of deep space exploration, urged a different approach. Chief Engineer Dalton, status of our shield modifications? She asked, tapping her comm badge. The Australian's voice came through clearly despite the background hum of engineering. Absorption capacity at 118% of design parameters, Commander. Whatever they hit us with, we could take 3 more before recalibration. Maya nodded, making her decision. Helm, maintain course. Tactical, no defensive posture. Commander, Jackson questioned, the single word carrying volumes of concern. They shot where they knew it wouldn't hurt us, Maya explained. That's not aggression, it's communication. Let's answer in kind. Communications are still being jammed by unknown interference, Rivera reminded her. Then we communicate through action. Maya straightened in her command chair. Dr. Kapoor, prepare a series of probes configured to broadcast translation attempts across all bandwidths. Tactical, prepare to deploy them in Fibonacci sequence formation. Jackson stepped closer, lowering his voice. Maya, this violates at least 7 first contact protocols. She met his gaze steadily. If whoever built that station wanted to destroy us, I suspect they could have done so already. Something else is happening here. Telmvex's sensory tendrils curled in distress as the command center's primary display fragmented into multiple tracking windows. The human vessel had suddenly split its sensor profile into 7 distinct signatures, each moving in contradictory vectors. "Projection technology?" asked Zrixtol, his primary gaze fixed on the bewildering display, while his secondary eyes monitored the rising anxiety levels among his crew. "Negative, Commander," Telnvex responded, her analysis arrays cycling through verification protocols. "Mass and energy readings consistent across all signatures. These are physical objects." Security Chief Vrax Khan's dermal plates flushed with aggression pheromones. "They've deployed attack drones." Classic encirclement strategy. The human vessel continued its direct approach while the smaller objects diverged in a mathematical pattern Telnvex found distressingly familiar. "Commander, the deployment sequence." Her voice faltered. "Speak freely, Science Officer." "The objects are arranging themselves according to the spiral of inevitable conflict. The same formation documented in the final transmissions from 17 fallen outposts across our history." A cold silence enveloped the command center. Every educated Medusan knew the historical records, the spiral pattern that preceded annihilation, a calling card of methodical extermination. "Defensive countermeasures," ordered Zrixtol, his voice steady despite the dread pulsing through the station's communal empathic field. "Deploy the resonance gravity well." Deep within the station, ancient generators activated, their crystalline cores pulsing with accumulated potential. The fabric of space-time between the station and the approaching vessels began to distort, creating a precisely calibrated gravitational anomaly, not powerful enough to destroy, but sufficient to disrupt any conventional weapons targeting. "Gravity well established," confirmed the tactical officer. "Estimated 30 seconds until the human probes encounter the perimeter." Vrax Khan's tactical display suddenly flashed with new warnings. "Commander, the objects are accelerating. They're deliberately targeting the gravity well." "Impossible," whispered Telnvex. "No rational combat doctrine includes sending weapons directly into defensive measures." Yet the evidence was undeniable. The human probes adjusted course with precision that suggested sentient control rather than automated systems, forming a new pattern as they converged on the gravity well's focal point. Aboard the Curiosity, Maya watched the deployment of her communication probes with intense concentration. The alien station's response, a localized distortion of spacetime, was unlike any defensive system she'd encountered in 12 years of deep space exploration. Gravitational manipulation at that scale should be theoretically impossible without creating a singularity, muttered Dr. Kapper, his eyes wide behind holographic data feeds. "Their control parameters are exquisite. Probes are responding to the gravitational shift," reported Tactical Officer Alvarez. "Compensatory algorithms functioning within parameters." Maya nodded. "Maintain course. What are the probe's telemetry readings?" "They're being pulled into some kind of resonance pattern," Kapper responded. "The gravity field isn't attempting to destroy them. It's scanning them. No, more like taste testing them." Rivera's station suddenly erupted with activity. "Commander, I'm detecting complex energy patterns emanating from the probe's interaction with the gravity field. They're generating harmonic frequencies across subspace bands we didn't even know existed." Maya leaned forward, a tingle of excitement cutting through her apprehension. "Are they responding to the mathematical sequences we programmed?" "It's more like..." Rivera paused, struggling to articulate what her instruments were showing. "It's like the gravity field and our probes are having a conversation we didn't initiate. The patterns are evolving autonomously." The bridge fell silent as the implications settled over the crew. Their attempt at communication had triggered something unexpected, possibly dangerous, potentially revolutionary. "Whatever's happening," Maya said quietly, "we just became the smallest player in this equation." In the interstices between conventional reality and the quantum foam, awareness stirred. Not consciousness as carbon-based entities understood it, but something far older, a pattern of organized energy that had observed the rise and fall of 1,000 civilizations. The Voidwalker consensus had no physical form in the traditional sense. Their existence manifested as perturbations in spacetime itself, detectable only as mathematical anomalies in the background radiation of the universe. For eons, they had watched, tested, and occasionally guided younger species toward greater understanding. This particular node of the consensus had maintained its vigil over this sector for 7,000 cycles, observing with clinical detachment as the crystalline Medusans expanded their influence. The Medusans were promising, methodical, logical, their technology evolving along elegant mathematical progressions the consensus found aesthetically pleasing. Then the humans had arrived. Anomalous interaction patterns detected, communicated the observer designated as Nexus Point. Its thoughts propagated through subspace, bypassing conventional communication channels. The biological entities employ unpredictable methodology. Assessment, intentional or random, queried another aspect of the consensus. The question created ripples of probability calculations throughout the collective consciousness. The Voidwalkers had encountered randomness before. It was, after all, a fundamental property of quantum systems. But the humans' approach defied simple categorization. Their probes followed recognizable mathematical sequences, yet applied them in ways that produced chaotic outcomes. Neither, concluded Nexus Point after analyzing terabytes of observational data. They operate on intuitive leaps. They formulate incomplete hypotheses and test them simultaneously rather than sequentially. This revelation caused a disturbance in the consensus rarely experienced in its long history. The testing protocol had always been straightforward. Introduce communication barriers between emerging species and observe whether they could overcome them through rational problem-solving. Those who solved the puzzle joined the greater community of minds. Those who resorted to destruction remained isolated until they evolved further. But the humans weren't solving the puzzle. They were redefining it. The energy patterns generated by the interaction between their probes and the Medusan gravity are creating subspace harmonics that interfere with our observation protocols, noted another observer. This was not anticipated. The consensus redirected its attention to the unfolding drama, focusing particularly on the human vessel. Its power emissions were fluctuating in patterns that suggested deliberate modulation rather than technical limitations. They are preparing to alter their approach, predicted Nexus Point. Probability calculations suggest 12 potential strategies based on observed behavior patterns. The prediction algorithms ran, extrapolating from limited data. Most advanced species, when faced with a potential threat, chose one of three options: escalation, retreat, or maintenance of current stance, while seeking additional information. The humans did none of these. Instead, the consensus observed with growing interest as the human vessel began systematically deactivating its systems, weapons, shields, sensors, all powering down in sequence. This behavior has no precedent in our observation history, communicated Nexus Point, the closest approximation to surprise that its nature allowed. They are deliberately increasing their vulnerability. Correction, interjected another observer. They maintain minimal life support and propulsion, and they have deployed an evacuation vessel for most of their crew. A single biological entity remains aboard the main vessel, confirmed Nexus Point. It continues approach trajectory toward the Medusan station. For the first time in countless millennia, the Voidwalker consensus experienced genuine uncertainty. Their predictive models, refined through observation of thousands of species, offered no explanation for this behavior. A deliberate choice of vulnerability was not merely unexpected, it was revolutionary. Maya Chen stood alone on the Curiosity's bridge, the emergency lighting casting long shadows across abandoned stations. The soft hiss of the life support system seemed unnaturally loud in the silence. On her command chair's armrest, the last active console displayed the shuttle's trajectory, now safely beyond the alien station's weapons range with her crew aboard. "Computer, status report," she said, her voice steady despite the hammering of her heart. "Life support at minimal efficiency. Propulsion at 12%. Communications offline. Defensive systems offline. Sensors at passive mode only." The computer's voice echoed through the empty bridge. Warning. Current configuration violates 17 safety protocols and 4 operational directives. Maya smiled grimly. Note in ship's log. All violations authorized by acting captain. Through the view screen, the alien station loomed larger. A breathtaking structure of crystalline spires and energy fields that defied human architectural understanding. Its beauty belied the danger it represented. If she had miscalculated, the curiosity would become her coffin. She checked the one system she'd reprogrammed personally, the emergency beacon, now modified to broadcast simple mathematical sequences on all frequencies. The universal language, Dr. Capper had called it. She hoped he was right. "Let's find out if anyone's listening," she whispered, activating the beacon. On Station 47 Beta, Zrixtal stared at the tactical display in disbelief. "Verify these readings," he ordered. "Confirmed, Commander," responded Telnvex, her voice uncharacteristically subdued. "The smaller vessel has retreated beyond our weapons range. The main vessel approaches with minimal power signatures. All weapons and defensive systems inactive." "It must be a deception," insisted Security Chief Fraxcon. "No rational species would approach potentially hostile forces in such a vulnerable state." "Analysis of life forms aboard," questioned Zrixtal. "Single biological entity remaining on the main vessel. The smaller craft contains 23 life signs." Zrixtal's secondary respiratory membranes fluttered as he considered the implications. They've evacuated their crew but left one individual aboard. Why? "Calculating optimal impact trajectory," Vraxcon announced, manipulator appendages working furiously across tactical interfaces. "If we assume the vessel itself has been converted to a kinetic weapon." "The trajectory is wrong," interrupted Telnvex. "It's approaching at an angle that would result in minimal structural damage to our station." "Then what?" Zrixtal began, only to be interrupted by the communications officer. "Commander, the human vessel is broadcasting again. Different pattern this time." Telnvex redirected her analysis arrays, secondary eyes widening. "It's mathematics. Basic universal constants, the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, the base sequence of atomic structures, the relationship between energy and matter. They're attempting communication." Zrixtal realized, secondary gill slits expanding in surprise. "After displaying clear hostile intent," questioned Fraxcon. "This must be a deception strategy. Or perhaps," ventured Telnvex, her scientific curiosity overcoming ingrained caution, "we have misinterpreted their actions, just as they may have misinterpreted ours." The command center fell silent as this possibility settled over the assembled Medusans. The concept that a technologically advanced species might approach problems through fundamentally different cognitive pathways challenged centuries of Medusan diplomatic doctrine. "Should we respond?" asked the communications officer. Before Zrixtal could answer, every system on the station synchronized simultaneously. Displays shifted to show identical patterns, multidimensional mathematical constructs that belonged to neither Medusan nor human design protocols. A presence manifested throughout the station's systems, bypassing security measures as if they didn't exist. When it communicated, the message appeared directly in the Medusans' neural interfaces, translated perfectly into concepts their minds could comprehend. Perhaps it is time to actually talk. Maya stepped from the airlock onto the alien station, the environmental suit's sensors automatically adjusting to the unfamiliar atmosphere. Through her helmet's transparent faceplate, she observed the grand chamber where the first formal meeting between humans and Medusans would take place. The architecture defied human design principles, curved surfaces flowing into impossible angles, materials that seemed simultaneously crystalline and organic. Soft bioluminescence pulsed through the walls in rhythmic patterns that Maya suspected carried meaning beyond mere aesthetics. Her escort, 4 Medusans in what she assumed were ceremonial attire, maintained precise formation around her. Their bodies resembled elongated cephalopods with multiple manipulator appendages and translucent carapaces that revealed shifting colors beneath. Most striking were their eyes, 3 primary organs surrounded by smaller sensory clusters that moved independently. The Voidwalker representative manifested between them as a shifting projection of light and darkness, occasionally coalescing into geometric patterns before dissolving again into quantum uncertainty. The formal exchange will commence when all parties are gathered. It communicated directly into Maya's mind. Your decision to approach invulnerability has altered the predicted outcome matrices significantly. I'm not sure I had many other options, Maya responded, conscious of the Medusan's attention on her. Sometimes the only way past defenses is to not attack them at all. An approach unique in our observational history, the entity acknowledged. The crystalline ones require clarification on your intentions. The procession arrived at a vast chamber where a delegation of Medusans awaited. At their center stood a slightly larger individual whose carapace displayed intricate patterns Maya assumed denoted rank or status. I am Senior Commander Zrix Toll of the Medusan Collective. The alien's thoughts translated perfectly in Maya's mind through the Voidwalker's intervention. You stand within Outpost 47 Beta, a scientific and cultural exchange facility. Maya noted the careful description that omitted any mention of the station's obvious military capabilities. Diplomatic half-truths seemed to be a universal constant. Lieutenant Commander Maya Chen of the Earth Science Vessel Curiosity. She responded with a formal bow. I represent the United Earth Exploration Directorate on a mission of peaceful scientific discovery. Zrix Toll's chromatophores flickered in patterns Maya couldn't interpret. Your approach methods contradicted your stated peaceful intentions, as did your warning shot. Maya countered diplomatically. Perhaps we should discuss how our different perspectives led to misunderstanding. The formal introductions complete, the gathering shifted to a more open configuration. Maya noticed smaller groups of humans, her returned crew, already engaged with Medusan counterparts in various sections of the chamber. Dr. Capper stood before a holographic representation of what appeared to be Medusan's cellular structure, his expression one of fascinated disbelief. Your absorption shield technology, began Zrix Toll as they moved toward a central discussion area. It redirected our energy discharge back in a pattern that precisely mimicked our signature. The Voidwalker projection rippled. In Medusan culture, mimicry of another's energy pattern is considered a declaration of dominance, a preparatory action before attack. Maya's eyes widened in understanding. Our shields are designed to absorb and neutralize energy. The reflection was an unintended side effect of our defensive technology, not a deliberate communication. And our energy discharge, Zrix Toll admitted, secondary gill structures fluttering in what Maya interpreted as embarrassment, was intended as a formal greeting demonstration, not an attack. The pattern we used apparently matches your distress frequencies. So I received an SOS, and you received a declaration of war, Maya said, a smile forming despite the gravity of the situation. All because our technologies interact in ways neither of us anticipated. The warning klaxons shattered the fragile atmosphere of cultural exchange. Maya watched as the Medusan command staff responded with practiced efficiency, their chromatophores shifting to uniformly urgent patterns. Long-range detection grid has identified multiple vessels approaching from Sector 17, announced Vraxcon, the security chief's appendages manipulating holographic controls with lightning precision. Zrix Toll turned to Maya, his primary eyes fixing on her while secondary visual clusters monitored incoming data. The hegemony approaches, 27 vessels in attack formation. The main display transformed, showing a three-dimensional star map with multiple red sigils arranged in a distinctive pattern that Maya immediately recognized as militarily significant. A formation designed to maximize weapons coverage while minimizing defensive vulnerabilities. The hegemony serves as evolutionary pressure within this sector, the Voidwalker entity explained privately to Maya. They systematically target emerging technologies they deem threatening to their dominance. Your technology has attracted their attention, Zrix Toll confirmed. Standard protocol is evacuation. We cannot withstand their numbers. Maya studied the tactical display, her mind racing. Time until arrival. 14 standard hours, replied Vraxcon. Barely sufficient for essential personnel evacuation and data core transferal. They always attack in this exact formation. Maya asked, gesturing toward the display. The question seemed to confuse the Medusan commander. It is the pattern of inevitable victory, unchanged for 7 centuries. Its mathematical precision ensures optimal tactical advantage. Maya exchanged glances with her tactical officer, Lieutenant Alvarez, who had joined them in the command center. A slow smile spread across his face as he recognized her train of thought. Permission to speak freely, Commander, Alvarez requested. At Maya's nod, he addressed the Medusan tactical staff directly. Where I come from, we have a saying. Predictability is the mother of defeat. A perfect pattern is also a perfect target. Vraxcon's appendages stiffened in what Maya now recognized as the Medusan equivalent of indignation. You suggest 27 hegemony warships, each outmassing your vessel by factors of 20, with weapons technology 2 generations beyond your own, are vulnerable because they are predictable. Exactly, Maya confirmed, stepping toward the tactical display. May I? After a hesitant gesture of permission from Trixtol, Maya manipulated the holographic interface, quickly adapting to its unfamiliar controls. In human military history, we learned early that perfect formations are perfect targets. Our most successful commanders were those who introduced controlled chaos into battle. She zoomed in on the hegemony formation, highlighting its symmetrical structure. This formation assumes that the defender will respond according to standard military doctrine, deploying forces to counter the most obvious threats, attempting to match strength with strength, which is the only rational response, insisted Vraxcon. Only if your goal is to win through superior force, countered Maya. But what if your goal is merely to disrupt, to introduce variables they haven't calculated? She turned to face the assembled Medusan command staff. Your defensive systems, they're designed to be perfectly balanced and symmetrical, correct? Telnvex, the science officer, responded with evident pride. Our shield geometries maintain perfect harmonic resonance across all energy bands. The mathematics are flawless. And that's precisely why the hegemony can predict every response you'll make, Maya said, the excitement of realization in her voice. They know exactly how your systems will react, because they're designed to be mathematically perfect. Fleet Commander Xorvash reclined in his command throne aboard the Hegemony flagship Dominant Assertion, reviewing battle projections with the detached interest of a being who had overseen 87 successful conquest operations. The Medusan outpost would fall like all others before it. Their defensive algorithms were sophisticated but ultimately predictable, their responses encoded in mathematical patterns the hegemony had long since deciphered. We enter effective weapons range in 17 minutes, Commander, reported his tactical officer. Medusan evacuation appears incomplete. No significant defensive preparations detected. Xorvash allowed himself a moment of disappointment. The Medusans were technically brilliant but utterly lacking in adaptability. Their responses to hegemony incursions hadn't changed in 7 centuries, a testament to their rigid thinking. Standard engagement protocol, he ordered. Target primary power nodes first, then. His instructions were interrupted as every communication system on the flagship simultaneously activated. Display screens, neural interfaces, even the atmospheric control panels flashed with the same message in perfect hegemony script. Warning: hostile human vessel approaching. Source of transmission, demanded Xorvash, his dorsal ridges flaring with alarm. Unknown, Commander. It's bypassing all security protocols. Wait, sensors detecting unusual energy configurations from the Medusan station. The tactical display shifted to show the Medusan outpost, but something was wrong. The station's familiar crystalline structure was pulsing with energy patterns that violated every known parameter of Medusan technology. Instead of the symmetrical shield geometries documented in thousands of encounters, the defense grid flickered erratically, creating unpredictable overlaps and deliberate weak points that seemed to shift position randomly. "Analysis," barked Torvash. His science officer's response came hesitantly. The energy signatures contain Medusan base patterns, but they're corrupted somehow, modified in ways our predictive algorithms can't process. Smaller vessels emerged from the station, recognizable as Medusan designs, but moving in patterns no Medusan ship had ever employed. They accelerated along curved trajectories that defied standard approach vectors, some deliberately exposing vulnerabilities, while others executed maneuvers that strained structural integrity to its limits. At their center flew a ship of alien design, smaller than the hegemony vessels, but pulsing with energy configurations that fluctuated wildly, confounding targeting systems designed to lock onto stable patterns. "Receiving transmission from the unknown vessel," reported the communications officer. A human female's face appeared on the command center's main display. Unlike the hegemony's elongated features adapted for high-gravity environments, her rounded face and dark eyes belonged to an evolutionary path utterly foreign to their experience. "This is Lieutenant Commander Maya Chen of the United Earth Medusan Defense Force," she stated, her translated words precise and unnervingly confident. "Your pattern of inevitable victory has a critical flaw. It only works against enemies who fight the way you expect them to." Torvash's initial response was dismissive amusement. What threat could this small alien vessel possibly pose to 27 hegemony warships? Yet something about the human's confidence disturbed him. "Target the alien vessel," he ordered. "Targeting systems cannot establish lock," his tactical officer responded, a note of disbelief in his voice. "Its energy signature keeps changing." Before Torvash could issue new orders, the first Medusan vessels reached attack range, and everything the hegemony thought they knew about warfare collapsed into chaos.